Hey folks, Dr. Mike here for Renaissance Periodization. Let me tell you a quick story before I get the video going here. It's a true story, as always. I was 13 years old and I was hailed in southeastern Michigan as a baseball prodigy. Up and coming, I was unbelievable. I had an opportunity to be recruited by actually the New York Yankees. They wanted me in their junior camp. And I showed up. I was ready. I hit some balls, ran to the bases, as they say in baseball. And coach pulled me aside, and he was chewing a whole lot of chewing tobacco. And he's like, "You got it all, kid, except one thing, and that's why you ain't never gonna make it to the major leagues." And I was like, "What is it? I can work on it." He's like, "Your rear delts ain't big enough, son." I don't even remember the ride home. Like, beep, like after shell explodes next to you, like that was my life for days. I went to school, like I learned stuff. I don't remember anything. I will never, ever live it down that I was never given a chance to be on the New York Yankees, representing our fine city of New York in the game of baseball, which I've definitely played outside of gym class, because rear delts weren't big enough. And I don't want the same thing to happen to you guys. I know some of you are out there, rear delts are holding you back from that job promotion, the girl you've been thinking about, and she would, if she found out you were thinking about her, call the police. We all have that girl. Some of us have more than one. In any case, rear delts, let's find out how to grow them. And just growing them isn't enough. We want a specialization routine to pound our rear delts into either growth or submission, hopefully a bit of both. Here we go. First, why specialize? Well, theoretically, you'd want to specialize if you want one muscle to grow bigger in relation to others. Like the easy example is arms. Like if someone has to say, like, why are you trying to get big arms? Are they out of balance with the rest of your body? There's no good answer to that. The answer is just bigger arms are always better. Shut up, go away. That's a great answer. And more mechanistically, if you limit how much recovery adaptive resources you send to other muscles, you can expand how much is left over for the target muscles that you're trying to hit. So if you really want to work on getting bigger legs, but you're blasting your upper body like crazy, if you reduce the upper body hit and you specialize on legs, you can actually do more and recover from more and get more jacked legs because you're doing less for the upper body. So you can train everything normally and still hope your rear delts grow big. But if you really want to prioritize, for example, your rear delts, then the process that you can follow is a bit more specific than just adding stuff on top. It's a little bit of taking away. It's a little bit of adding. It's a little bit of how and why you do it. Lots to say. If you're thinking, oh my God, this is great. I can't wait to have the world's biggest rear delts and finally be in a museum of some sort for that sort of weird thing. Great, I'm with you. But you may also be thinking, oh, hold on a sec. I want to prioritize rear delts and biceps and maybe even my calves to become the ultimate underrated aesthetic physique. Like you take off your shirt and your chest is like whatever, your triceps are meh, your legs are kind of small, but all of the very finely attuned physique people are like, big calves, big biceps, big rear delts. Hello, Adonis. Maybe that's your given name. That's why they're saying that. So maybe you want more than one muscle to prioritize at the same time. And you're thinking, hey, how many of these training guides that we have a few out already? We'll have a bunch more and pretty much all the other muscles of the body that people want to train. No, tibialis anterior guide will never be coming. I'm sorry. A neck guide either. Just go to Jeff Nippert for that sort of thing. And the answer to how many muscles you can prioritize at once is really however many you can recover from and stack in one on top of another until it starts to become an everything and too much systemic fatigue routine. So I would say try one or two muscles prioritized at a time. If you find that it's super easy to recover, especially if they're small muscles like biceps or rear delts, try adding in another one or two muscles next mesocycle into your rotation. If it's still super going well, the way you tell is the muscles you already have prioritized, are they continuing to have great training, great recovery, and great progress? If you stack 4 muscles in and the first 3 that you had start to really degrade and you really start to get fatigued and you're like, oh man, that 4th was a mistake, you're probably right. Take away that 4th. Then the answer for your body at that time is only 3 muscles at super priority and everything else a little bit on the back burner. So without further ado, let's talk real quick about the basics of specialization. I want to tell you guys this because it's going to explain the hell out of the rest of this video, but also if you can't wait until we release all the other guides, or you want an intellectual foundation upon which to build your own decision-making experiences, it's really good to have the theoretical basis of how specialization actually occurs, right? So a couple of really big points to hit to really be able to say, hey, this program I built is a specialization program. First, it must have a high element of specificity, which means that if you tell me, hey, my quads grow best from sets of 10 to 20, and you tell me, hey, I'm in a quad specialization program, and then I see you doing sets of 5, I'm gonna be like, what the fuck are you doing? And you're gonna be like, well, I also want to get strong. So you don't really care that much about size. Like, I do. So it's a bit of both. Well, nothing. If you want the best results possible, you got to put your best weapons into the fucking battle. And the way this works, especially with rear delts, there's like your best rear delt exercises that really torch your shit. Just maybe not the sexiest movements in the world. They may be like cable face pulls and shit like that. And you may not be like, here we go, programming in more dumb shit that people make fun of me for. Well, do you want bigger rear delts or not? And if the answer is yes, you're going to do shit like that works. Yeah, you want to do like heave-ho barbell rows and show off for your friends, but that may not be hitting your rear delts. I tell you, there's not a lot of glorious exercises for your rear delts. The glory is saved for the chest, maybe the back, definitely the legs. Like if you want to prioritize, if you want glory in the gym, do a quad specialty routine. You'll be on hack squat, leg press, walking lunges, Smith machine, free squat, throwing up blood. Everyone will be like, you're amazing. But if you're doing a rear delt, go on a first date with a girl and she's like, what are you doing tomorrow? You're like, day 1 of rear delt specialization programs. Wish me luck. I'll write to you from the front lines. And she's like, what the fuck? You're that guy doing face pulls at the gym. You're like, yeah. She's like, this date is over. Pay for me. I'm leaving. Dick move. Actually, in the comments, let me know if you have a Victorian, how dare you moment where you throw your white handkerchief at the person and even potentially splashing champagne in their face, and then you walk off. Do you walk by the maitre d' and you're like, hey, but here's $50 for that table? Or do you just fuck off? Because like, yes, moral aggravation can be super, like you can feel good about yourself for doing it. I found out he hated poodles and I'll never stand for that. Like, it's not very moral to not pay for the meal though, right? That's kind of lame. How would you do it? If you're going to take off your white glove and do the 2 slaps, do the champagne, do the handkerchief, and then walk off, do you pay or do you not pay? Let me know in the comments. I will judge the fucking shit out of you based on what you write. Isn't the whole world always judging? So in any case, yeah, it's not glorious, but you're going to have to put the exercises and rep ranges that target you best. That means for rear delts, it's going to be a lot of sets of like 15, 20, suffering, pain, no glory. It blows, but you do what it takes. Secondly, prioritization is a thing in specialization, which means you probably want to train the muscles that you really want to hit first or early, right? Sometimes there has to be a balancing act there where you're like, okay, I have a back. I still need to train my back. And if I train rear delts first, it's really going to degrade my back training. I don't want to do that. And that's a fine answer. But instead of doing 3 back movements and then rear delts, maybe you do 1 back movement, 2 hard rear delt movements, and then another back movement at the end. Still get to start with back, still get to do some pull-ups, weighted pull-ups, bent over rows, and then you do some rear delts and you do some back at the end. That last couple sets of back won't be that amazing, but you're taking a conscious effort. You're taking a conscious trade-off saying, I'm not interested in the best back that I could have right now. I'm interested in the best rear delts that I could have right now. So just anytime you put together a routine that specializes for everything, make sure that on average, not every session, but most times, that muscle group is trained early. Last thing you want to do, and this is honestly, rear delts is the perfect muscle to bring up this exact situation, which I've seen maybe like over a dozen times over the years, is bodybuilders will talk about how they want to bring up their rear delts, how rear delts are super important, how front delts get a ton of work anyway. And then they show you their delt routine and it's like barbell press, 4 sets, seated dumbbell press, 4 sets, seated laterals for side delts, 4 sets. And then I do 3 sets and 1 drop set of rear delt machine. And I go home. I'm like, motherfucker, were you out of your mind? That's a front delt routine. It doesn't matter what the hell your rear delt is pumped a little bit at the end, but like, that's such a low stimulus. You could have been starting with rear delt movements. Again, no glory. Starting with rear delt movements, people are like, you still warming up? You're like, no, that was set number 4. Damn it, I only used 12.5 pounds on this exercise. It blows, but it does the job. Next, especially with rear delts, frequency is fucking massive. If there's actually a group, I think, an electronic music group called Massive Frequency, or is it a song? In any case, I thought I'd share. Google it and let me know what you find. So if you want to train your legs super fucking hard, you want to bring up your quads, when you torch your quads, how often can you recover to come train again, free of soreness and at a high level of performance? Man, twice a week, maybe 3 times if you really constrain the session, maybe 4 times if you're really like just doing a few sets at a time, but then you feel like you're really holding back. Rear delts, man, you can nuke them shits. They just don't get sore. They hardly get tired, and you can nuke them again in 2 days, sometimes a day later. So yeah, 2 times a week is fine, but for rear delts especially, 3 to 4 times a week is really the way you want to do shit, because if you can recover and hit it again, it's time to hit it again. And a lot of times with rear delts, people have this, they sort of superimpose the heuristic from other muscle groups on top of everything else. And they'll say, well, when I brought up my chest, I did 2 chest workouts a week. When I did triceps, 2 workouts a week, back, legs, etc. Rear delts, 2 rear delt workouts a week. They might recover much faster than that. And if you're sitting around Friday and your next rear delt session isn't planned until Saturday, and you're like, someone's like, hey, do you want to go train tonight? I'm hitting rear delts. You're like, no, I need till Saturday to recover. And they're like, do you really? And you're like, no, fuck no. I trained him on Wednesday. I didn't even feel him Wednesday night. I got to train him again on Thursday. And then on Friday, let's fucking do it. So you got to be honest with yourself. And if you can tolerate a high training frequency, these smaller muscles, their curves for adaptation and their curves for recession in muscle are faster, they're quicker. So if you train them quite frequently, they, respond very, very well. Whereas if you don't train them quite frequently, you could say, look, I've tried everything and my rear delts won't grow. And if you ever come to me in the street and tell me that, I'd be like, first of all, who the fuck are you? I'll come up to Dr. Mike. How dare you? It's $20 for all questions, cash, any sort of anything that converts to 20. I'll take Chinese currency, Japanese, I don't give a fuck. But in any case, first thing I'll say is, how's your technique in your RIR? Okay. And if you say, look, I know what all those things mean. I promise you I'm doing a good job. The next thing I'll say is, how's your frequency? Okay. Because a lot of people say like, well, you can have the perfect workout that occurs 1 time a week. And like, congratulations, you did something. And then some muscle that you built accrues over the course of 1 or 2 days, dissipates over the course of 3 or 4, and you're back to the same place. So high frequency is super key. And a reduction in non-specialized training is something that you typically see in specialization routines. So you want to make room for recovery in 2 ways. One is overall volume may need to come down for systemic recovery. Like if you are training your whole body and your rear delts are typically at the end of your routine and you wanted to add more rear delts, but you're just too goddamn tired to do it. Like you're on set 5 of rear delts after 20 sets of back and buys. You're like, I don't even know if I have rear delts at this point. Fuck if I know. My muscle's gone. There's no pump. There's nothing. Then yeah, maybe you can do rear delts first, but maybe you can also reduce the amount of total training you're doing. Maybe take back and chest and put them on the slow burn back burner. And then all of a sudden you're so systemically engaged that if you put your rear delts first, you just fucking crush them every single time. And even at the end of workouts, you're like, I got this, and you fucking crush them. So it can be a systemic thing. Now, the systemic alteration of the systemic load, a reduction of it rather, to make sure specialization can occur with the muscle groups you have left. It's more important for large muscle groups that you have a huge systemic component. So if you want to increase your quad size, you're going to need a lot of systemic buffer because it's going to tax your goddamn soul. Rear delts, not as much. They're more like they tax the part of your soul that's embarrassed about using light weights, not the part that's dying on set number 19 of hack squats. So you don't have to reduce a ton of volume for rear delts, but you can. And the other way to do it is to really be mindful of synergist volume. So if your back training typically tires your rear delts out a little bit, but it doesn't really seem to add much size to them, I would reduce back training because you use your rear delts in every conceivable back movement that you've ever done. Also uses rear delts. Now, here's the thing I will say, and I don't have to actually address this in the rest of the presentation. A lot of your rear delt training can come from back training. Proper full range of motion back training can do to your rear delts close to what proper pushing chest and tricep training does, and also vertical overhead shoulder training does to your front delts, which is to say really just fills up all of the requirements for volume, or almost. If you guys follow my own training, if you follow me on Instagram, I post most of my training. Super fucking boring because it's just verbatim what I do. I train in a gym with no music, usually the sounds of birds outside. That's nice. I named the birds. First bird I ever named was Larry Bird. It's critical to do that. How can people have pet birds and they're not named Larry? Why the fuck would you do that to a bird? It could be a great basketball champion, but you named it Tom or some stupid shit like that. In any case, the fuck was I saying? Yeah. So if you follow my training, I do almost no rear delt work. And I have like pretty fucking decent rear delts for the rest of my body. How? Because I do full range of motion back training and it just tortures the fuck out of that. So for me, a real rear delt priority would actually be to keep all of my back training in and then sprinkle a little bit more rear delts on top because they have a huge ability to recover for me. So you don't have to remove the synergists unless the synergists for you just don't hit your rear delts at all and they really make you fucking tired in that muscle, which is totally a thing that can happen. So if your back training just makes you tired for rear delt training later, and rear delt training for you specific, like face pulls and stuff like that, really hits your rear delts in a way your back absolutely doesn't, yeah, I would consider reducing the synergist, which is your back. So yeah, a little less back stuff, a little bit more rear delt stuff, and your physique will start to change in the direction that you want it to change. All right. So when you are constructing your specialized plan for rear delts, you want to do a couple of things, check a couple of boxes. Here are my recommendations of where to start. First, frequency. You want to consider training rear delts 3 or 4 times a week. You can even do more, like 5 or 6. I would start with 3 or 4, do a mesocycle or 2 of that, see how that goes. If you've never done a specialization program for rear delts, 3 or 4 times a week is going to fuck you up and it's going to really make your rear delts grow. Exercises. Again, the real actual answer is whatever hits your stimulus to fatigue ratio the best for your rear delts, which is a trial by error, and it's different for different people, different builds, different times of your life, etc. A core of rear lateral raises, like bent lateral raises, is a decent idea. It seems to be a pretty effective exercise. And I would also, of different kinds of face pulls and stuff like that, I would also consider plenty of side delt work for 2 reasons. One, a lot of times a bunch of side delt moves, like actually properly executed face pulls, hit your side delts like crazy. Properly executed side delt moves oftentimes hit your rear delts a ton too, and it's really difficult to sort of bifurcate the two. And secondly, when you think you need bigger rear delts, you may also need that plus bigger side delts because the side delt hangs pretty far back. And if you have just big rear delts, a lot of times in your physique, it kind of looks like your back is really big. And people are like, your delts aren't that great. You're like, look at my rear delts and do this. And like, yeah, I guess from that pose, you look fine. But the fuck, your delt doesn't have some volume there. The real way to have super awesome looking rear delts is to let them bring out your front delts bring out your side delts. So if you look at someone with big side delts and you look over and their rear delts hanging, you're like, holy, this guy's a freak, right? So I would recommend, so that was reason number 1. Your side delts can bring out rear delts, along with the fact that they use a lot of similar exercises. Another reason to do it is, gee whiz, delt training, I'm sorry, forgive me, it's just not that hard. It's not that locally demanding. It's not that systemically demanding. How many times, someone comes over and you're like, hey man, can you help like babysit my little sister for a while? And I can't, bro. I torched myself with the delt workout. I'm barely awake. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Did you literally put a torch to your fucking delts? Get out of here. Like after leg day, I wouldn't let you watch my little sister either. You'll pass out and she'll end up, carving satanic symbols into your face. Little kids do the darndest things, don't they? She's in a psychiatry ward now, in a better place, my parole officer says. So in any case, humble recommendation is do side delts and rear delts together. Overall delt prioritization, everything works super well. So I would recommend that for the host of reasons I just listed. Next up, set numbers per session. Start with 2 to 6 sets per session. Now, here's the thing. If your rear delts are really responsive and your technique is spot on, and some of the exercises like cross-body rear delt laterals, where you pull a cable like that, they can fucking lots of tension under stretch, and they can fuck you up in just 2 sets to get you pumped and sore to begin with. Don't go any further than that. But some exercises and some folks have unfortunate rear delt genetics where like 5 sets in, you barely feel shit. So maybe start with 6. All right. So it's a really big range there. But once you get pumped and a little bit tired, you're done for the first session of the first week. You can always add in sets later. Loading and reps. Again, the correct technical answer here is whatever loading and repetition ranges, same question really, give you the best stimulus to fatigue ratios. The reality is that for most of the times, rear delts, they just don't respond well in most people to heavy low rep training. Sets of 5 to 10 of face pulls. First of all, it's weird on your shoulder joint. And second of all, you barely get a pump. You barely get any tension perception, barely get any soreness. Someone can say, hey, do a set of 5 of barbell face pulls, and you bend over and do them. Like, how'd that feel in your delts? You're like, I don't know, man. I felt like it was training my glenohumeral joint. Like, fuck, that sucks. But if you do sets of 10 to 20, 20 to 30 even for rear delts, that's where a lot of the money happens. And one of the ways that works is a lot of rear delt movements have a very small amplitude of movement as your physical amount of distance you're moving is really low. And muscles, yes, there's a big time under tension, time creating tension component to the muscles. So a lot of times a set of 5 in something like a face pull takes as long as like a set of 1.5 in the squat, because just the time spent generating, the time that the quads spent generating force is like 15 seconds in a 1.5, reps or something, or like say 7 seconds or something. But it's 7 seconds is how many it takes you to do a set of 5 in the face pulls. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? You're fucking done. So a lot of times sets of 20 to 30, it's not like magical or something like that, is that it allows each set to be longer and thus impose more tension over a longer time frame on your rear delts. No more than any other muscle, but same. It's just that those muscles, a lot of times the movements they're doing, they're not very high amplitude movements and they can be executed really quickly. A lot of dictator jokes to make after executed quickly. Nothing came to mind. Like Saddam Hussein used to like to do. Off color, very off color joke. All right. So constructing specialized plan, that's very nice. What about progression? Progression is quite simple and very similar between any kind of training. And for rear delts, it would look something like this. Typically, you would say, like, if you're no longer sore and you've healed well on time, the next time you do that, next week, that same session, you can increase the sets by 1 or something. With rear delts, there's a little bit of a problem applying that algorithm. A lot of times you just don't get sore in your rear delts, but you can be doing so much training volume that your rear delts are not appropriately recovered session to session to session, and you start seeing declines in performance. So you say, well, I kept adding volume because my soreness was never fucking around, so I thought I could recover, but then my training just went to straight dog shit because my rear delts were always tired. So in rear delts, yes, soreness is a fine indicator, but you can also use the indicator of how ready am I in the next session. So for example, let's say you did 4 sets of like rear delt flies on Monday, and it comes Wednesday and you have to do some shit again. It's face pulls. If Wednesday you're fresh as a fucking cucumber and you're just like, I can't wait to train rear delts, you fucking fuck it up, rep PRs, the muscle feels great after you warm up, you feel super fresh, you can probably add a set to next Monday because clearly those laterals didn't fuck you up enough to interfere with that Wednesday workout and you have a lot more recovery capacity to go. But if you're up to like 8 sets of laterals on Monday in a few weeks, and then Wednesday you come in to do face pulls and you start to warm up and you're like, oh, just not feeling the flow in there. I feel weak as fuck and the muscle feels weird and crampy. No soreness, but you can tell like, damn, I'm not quite recovered. And remember, all the sessions you do are designed to be productive. That means you have enough recovery to at least hit some decent PRs, get good pumps, etc. So if you're saying, ooh, 8 sets and I barely recovered, next week I'm still going to do 8 sets, maybe even 7 on that Monday so that I can come back and have a great Wednesday workout, heal enough for Wednesday to have a great Friday workout, etc., etc., etc. So soreness is a proxy for recovery, but it's not the only one. You can use others like how your muscle is feeling, how your rep performance is going, and so on and so forth. I would recommend using those for rear delts extensively. Again, we don't add volume as a matter of course. We add volume reflexively based on our ability to recover. So if you are up to 5 sets, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, each one is 5 sets of rear delts, and you're just barely recovering and making good gains, you don't ever have to increase. You can do 15 sets per week of delts for 4 weeks straight, no problem. And if you're like, oh, I can do it. I can challenge myself. I can do 18 sets. And then you end up just overreaching sooner and you have to take a deload week or a recovery week earlier because your recovery half week, you're given a day for your delts to subside. You're like, why did you do that? Well, I thought I could do it. Well, you fucking should have known better because you were just barely recovering on time before that. Right? I've actually had people ask me, this is easier with soreness for quads or something like that, but they'd be like, hey man, my quads heal like Wednesday night and I typically train them Thursday. I'm like, all right, how many sets did you do to get that sore? They're like 8. What should I do next week? I'm like, what's your best guess, bro? They're like 9. I'm like, no, it's not 9. God damn it. It's 8. Because if you did 9, you may heal just barely by Thursday or not at all. And then you're like warming up for Thursday. You're like having a great session. First warm up with leg press. You're like, JK, quads are still sore. And then you have to worry about injury and also the bullshit. It's all low probability events, but nothing you want on your head. You want full recovery. And that works for the rear delts as well as anything else. And the rear delts, full recovery is more like, can you perform super well again? Do you feel super fresh in the muscle versus the actual soreness? RIRs, typical stuff. Start at like 3 reps away from failure, go all the way to 0 or true failure at the end of your mount cycle. Again, people will say, Dr. Mike, why don't I just go to failure on all my sets of rear delt moves? It's not that hard. Yeah, quad failure, I get it. There's a systemic drain. I have to remember about how my dad used to beat the shit out of me every waking day of my life. Every day he was there. And I can't do that every time for failure. I'll just quit training. But for rear delt, I can go to failure just thinking of kittens and bunnies and hopefully them interacting harmoniously. So if kittens are sufficiently hungry, they become predatory. In any case, The answer is still no, God damn it, because the research is very clear that going to failure does not produce any better outcomes in the long term from a stimulus to fatigue ratio perspective than stopping a couple reps shy of failure. And you can stack more effective sessions of rear delt training in a longer mesocycle if you start at 3 reps in reserve. Look, I'll just preempt you. Is it fucking weird to stop with 2 or 3 reps left in the tank for rear delts in week 1? Yes. Someone's like, hey, when are you done warming up? You're like, I'm done working out. That was my whole fucking workout. God damn it. I know I didn't break a sweat. But the rear delts are a small muscle, and that's the fucking kind of shit that happens. Here's another reason not to go to all-out cycle failure in rear delts, especially at the beginning of the meso when you're still trying to get in the groove of the exercises. Rear delt exercises are the fucking easiest exercise in the world to cheat. And then you lose track of all reps, all semblance of a mind-muscle connection, and then your fucking rear delt training is garbage. Like, how many idiots have you seen on the fucking cable face pull doing this fucking, I'm going to fall back in my chair if I do it, but doing the whole body motion, or fucking it starts at the, like a proper cable face pull starts it in your calves. Said no smart person ever, but that's how people do it. And it's easy. I'm going to failure in the last couple of reps of this dog shit. Like, okay, great. Now you're just moving around. There's tons of systemic fatigue. It's not good for your joints. Your mind muscle connection is shit. And here's the thing, mind muscle connection is highly overrated by many people in many muscle groups. If you just move the load up and down with your fucking legs, your quads will grow. Yes. For rear delts, mind muscle connection is a big fucking deal because that movement that they do, there are so many other muscles that do that fucking movement. You just properly activate the side delts to maintain rigidity here. And then you activate the lats and you get the same shit, or the rhomboids, teres major, teres minor. There's a shitload of muscle that can do the same job. So if you connect to your side delts or rear delts, after a while of training, after training at 2 or 3 RIR, really focusing on getting the really good contractions, your quality of training will just be better. And then you'll win. So if you want to go in there and go to failure all the time on rear delts, hey, I'll shake your fucking hand, right? But I'll spit in my hand before I shake it. God damn it, you didn't see that one coming. Stop doing shit like that. All right. Loading repetitions. You want to add a little bit of load, add a few reps to keep the RIRs falling through the course of it. Make training sufficiently hard, at least continue to make it hard or even harder over time. As you get close to your deload week, you want to make training harder and you want to add a little bit, a rep here and there, a load here and there. Now, this is pretty obvious, but a lot of times load additions on rear delt exercises are like every other week or every third week. Rep additions are much more intelligent in many cases because going from 16 reps to 17 reps to 18 reps over the course of 3 weeks in rear delt flies is easy. It's a progression model that fits the adaptation curve of the muscle over time. But if you have the 10 pounders and you're doing rear delt flies, you going to go to the 15s in the next week? Are you fucking crazy? If you have a client that squats 100 pounds for a set of 10, you're like, good job, Nancy. Next week we do 150. She's like, what the fuck? I'll die. I'm like, yeah, you might die. You'll get 2 reps. So a lot of times the weight jumps are too big for your puny little rear delts, and they're too big for my puny little rear delts. So sometimes you can weight jump once a mesocycle. Like you do the 10s, all meso, you start at sets of 15, you end at sets of 22, and then you start the 15s and you start at sets of 8, and then you end at sets of 13, and voila, like your rear delts are bigger, progressing only through reps. So consider rep progressions might be more advantageous. If you try to slap on 5 pounds every time, you may be in a place where your reps are falling so much that you're losing all mind muscle connection, and you don't even know if you're overreached or getting stronger or what. All right, sample plan. I'm not going to belabor this. I just want you guys to see something. So sample plan is going to be right over here, week 1. Notice all the far away from failure, all the rep ranges, etc. And notice how much the volume in just this example has increased over the course of the weeks. What I like to do with my volumes on almost every muscle group is start conservative. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I can recover easily, and then gingerly add and add and add. And people a lot of times will say, oh my God, Dr. Mike, like you're adding so much volume through a meso. How can you recover? And the answer is, it wasn't that hard the first week. And the last week, it's a desperate struggle for survival. So on average, it's a fine amount of volume. It starts easy and ends hard. I was going to make a sex joke in there, but I never finished sex hard. You know what I'm saying, fellas? Your boy's out. As soon as I'm out, I'm done. That's all I'm going to say. I've never had sex. All right. Oh, a little chuckle from Scott, the video guy. Oh, Mr. Big Man having all that sex, huh? No. Yes. Good. No comment. Scott has a variety of lawsuits where he's not allowed to talk about sex. We'll just stop talking there. All right. So last couple of quick things. How long to specialize for? Ideally a training block. 3 successive mesocycles in a row of rear delts, rear delts, rear delts, maybe some side delts in there, maybe some back as well. That's actually a cool thing you can try, is a cycle that is rear delts, side delts, and back focused. It's just all of the behind you that's in your upper body. It's kind of cool. It's super synergistic, and it's super easy to build, and it's fun. You get great pumps, and there's a lot of muscle there that you can train. It's something really to do. As opposed to like just rear delt priority, it's kind of weird. Tell people in public, like, you've got a great physique, man. Like, thanks, guy, in Walmart aisle. Yeah, what are you working on now? Like, you got to prioritize anything? Like, yeah, rear delts, man. He's like, I hear you. That's so tough to grow. And you're like, just kiss me. And he's like, I'd love to. And, I make it out in Walmart aisle. It's only happened to me like 500 times. Not that many. 3 mesocycles. Then you take an active rest phase. And then you do whatever the hell you want after. Which includes another 3 mesocycles, if you want, of hitting the rear delts again. You can continue to train them. You just need some resensitization phases every now and again and some active rests where you back off of that specific muscle, whichever one you're targeting. Through those mesocycles, the exercises you use just be the ones that give you the highest stimulus to fatigue ratio, which can mean you keep a lot of the same super effective ones in, or trade out some of the ones that are getting a little stale with ones that are new and fresh and work a little better. You can do this thing where you start with slightly lower reps in meso 1 and progress into higher reps in mesos 2 and 3. That works better for muscles that actually respond well to lower reps, and in my experience, rear delts really don't. So you can continue to just blast them with high reps more or less the entire time. And I would recommend a pretty similar structure and frequency. Settle in on something that works really well and progress it versus trying really super different new shit. 2 sessions of rear delts this month, next month 6, and the month after 3, or some crazy shit like that. This month I'm doing it before back, next month after, the month after in the middle. Like, I would settle in on a functioning thing and then continue to dope that out until the 3 mesos are up. Active rest, brainstorm again as to what functional setup you want to try, and then try that again. Voila. All right. Here's the deal. In the description below, hey, I'm a YouTuber. I'm doing this YouTube thing, Scott. Isn't that cool? Down there, it's like I'm right there with you, only this was recorded months ago. We have lots of resources for you to begin your rear delt construction journey. As unimpressive as that sounds, we have an exercise video library with tons of rear delt exercises. We even have a whole sub playlist for rear delts. We have a muscle group training guide where all of this shit is beaten to death times 500 with more technical terms. That's a link, and it's all free. The Hypertrophy Made Simple videos, if you're like, what the fuck is SFR? Go look those up. It's just 16 10-minute videos, and it gets you up to super expert status in how to grow muscle. The hypertrophy book, if you're really a fucking nerd, is not free, but it's also linked in the description. And of course, if you want to build yourself a rear delt priority plan, you can build a priority plan with our custom training templates. The link is going to be down below, and they're so good. I mean, I kind of designed them myself with the help of a few folks, and they're amazing. And they cost money. Dean, I remind you, you pay the money. I get some fraction that Mr. Nick Shaw's butler sends me, and I use that to buy Lamborghinis because that's my passion in life. And all I can leave you guys with is some influencer shit of just stick to positivity. Is that what they say? And follow your passions. In my case, that's Lamborghinis. In your case, that may be whatever the fuck kind of weird shit you're into. See you later.